and RJ's got 14 bracket picking tips. So first of all, let's start with this, RJ. Who's the worst team to make the tournament?
Yeah, this one is clear. It's not even close. Tulsa. Tulsa was really egregious being in the tournament. In the eyes of Vegas, in fact, one pro bettor I talked to said 14 teams that did not make the tournament would be favored over Tulsa. 14 different teams should have been in before Tulsa. Certainly the most egregious entry.
Okay, now we do know the best teams not to make it, San Diego State, Valparaiso, St. Mary's. Were there other committee mistakes according to the bettors?
Yeah, a good many of them, and some that we can actually exploit when we pick our brackets. One is the Pac-12 is overrated, and they've been overseeded pretty much up and down the Pac-12.
Okay.
If you look at Oregon, the number one seed, actually 3 non-number one seeds would be favored over them. Michigan State, Oklahoma, and this is a surprise, I think, West Virginia would be favored, many believe, over number one Oregon. Now, on the other hand, the Big Ten, it's really Vegas is strong on the Big Ten, and that's unusual, football and basketball. All 7 Big Ten teams are favored in their first game. All 7, not an underdog once. And if you look at the actual matchups, Colin, is the biggest disagreement, Virginia Commonwealth, VCU, number 10 seed, is a 4.5-point favorite over number 7 Oregon State. So that's the one matchup that Vegas disagrees with the most.
So if people go to your site, are you telling me that I should pick my games mostly on spreads in the first round?
I think here's the beauty of it. Imagine if I told you, Colin, Vegas will be your partner picking your bracket for free. Now, I bet that sounds pretty good, right?
Right.
Well, in a way, if you think about it, every first-round game, which is about half of the overall games in the tournament, you've got a spread right now. So if you bet on sports or if you don't, you can go to a site like ours, see the lines, and say, oh, wait a minute, this 10 seed is a 4.5-point favorite. A lot of people picking without the help of Vegas will go with the better seed, the 7 seed Oregon State. But really, Vegas is saying there's a clearly better chance the 10 seed wins. That seems like very valuable information that you can have for free and you can have really just at a glance.
Well, we know that a lot of number one teams lost, RJ, so that would lead me to believe it's a big parity year, right? What do the wise guys say?
More parity, Colin, than any year in memory. One pro I talked to said he thinks upwards of 15 teams could win the tournament this year.
Wow.
And in a typical year, he usually says 7, 8 teams.
That's what
win.
Jay Bilas, you know what? Jay Bilas always told me this. Jay Bilas, he always said, Cowherd, you're ridiculous. You get into this. He goes, 7 teams can win every year. So Vegas believes that.
Yeah, typically and I've asked bookmakers, I've asked bettors, I said, how many do you think can win this year? And the answer has been between 12 and 15. And then I follow up and say, how many typically do you think can win? And that answer is usually around 7 or 8. So I think there's double the chance of a team winning this year that wouldn't have had a chance in prior years.
Okay, so do you have one pick that if I said, okay, RJ, give my audience, give the herd a freebie here?
All right, freebies, no problem. I'll give you a couple quick ones here. Real quick is I think Seton Hall, who is actually a small underdog against Gonzaga, really good first-round pick. They're the 6th seed. They could be a top 10 team with talent. That's what the pros tell me. Gonzaga, you're getting a lot of love for, but a lot of it's name recognition from prior years. Same thing, Texas Tech, I think, could be a good pick at number 8 seed. Big 12 was brutal, and it was a varied conference where a lot of different types of teams you had to play. Butler, once again, name recognition from prior years. Last one, look at West Virginia. They're favored by 7 in the first round, so that's easy. But this team could go really far in the tournament, and here's one reason why. They press in a way that few teams do. If you don't play them during the regular season, it's hard to prepare for that first time.
Okay, so R.J. Bell is saying Tulsa's the worst team in the tournament. He's saying the Pac-12 is overseeded. The Big Ten is really good. VCU to beat Oregon State is the bettor's upset pick. Then he likes Seton Hall, Texas Tech, and West Virginia. Okay, finally, RJ, give me a handful, a couple of tips. Like I'm filling out my bracket. just stuff. If I've got an hour and a half of doing some homework, I'm off today, or I'm going to sit down with my bracket tonight, give my audience a couple of tips.
This is the easiest part because we've got 30 years of history in the modern era of the tournament. And what it tells us is you've got to pick a few upsets early. In fact, the top 4 seeds have all advanced, even in the first round, only 4 times in 31 years. So you've got to have a few upsets in the 2, 3, and 4 seeds early. Then after this, and I know you love this because you hate Cinderellas.
Hate them.
You're the skeptic. check. You love this stat. Check this out. Is every step along the way there's a historic ceiling for a team. So, for example, in the Sweet 16, less than 2% of teams are seeded worse than number 12. In the Elite 8, we've had 248 of those teams in the modern era. Only one has been worse than a number 11 seed. Now we go one more forward. Out of 148 Final Four teams, only 3 have been worse than a 9 seed. Then finally, 26 of the last 27 champions have been a 4 seed or better.
Yep.
So each round there's a ceiling, and if your bracket bucks that, you're bucking a lot of history.
So if there is an upset and you're saying pick some, that team's not going to win 3 and 4 games.
Well, exactly. It matters. A 12 seed can go up to the Sweet 16. An 11 seed can go up to the Elite 8. A 9 seed can go up to the Final Four. But after that, history says no.